Well, fear is a major issue for those that have cancer. It hits immediately as soon as the doctor says you have cancer. And fear shuts down your immune system. It actually hinders your immune system from functioning, and we need our immune systems to fight the cancer. And I found a book in the library, because this was decades ago before the internet arrived to help us research things. I found a book by Dr. Benjamin Feingold, who was a pediatric allergist. He worked with allergies in children, and he had, over working with many children, had realized that many who were on medications for hyperactivity, when they removed artificial colors and flavors from their food, they were able to come off those hyperactive medications. They were no longer having the hyperactive episodes. And it made sense to me. It made a lot more sense that something we were consuming on a regular basis was causing the problem, rather than suddenly he needs this medicine because his body lacks the medicine to help control him.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lokumu Podcast. We're here every Wednesday. And if you're a new listener, thank you so much for joining us today. And please don't forget to subscribe. And if you're listening from our audio podcast directory, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio, please do consider leaving a positive review, as it helps the content to reach more people. Now, today I'm joined by Kelly Lotman, who is a health coach certified in applied functional medicine. Kelly believes that symptoms are body's cries for help, and the body can heal when provided the right building blocks. She also helps her clients to understand what is happening in their body and guides them in identifying the changes that will help them experience the vitality that they were missing. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me today.
I am delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you today.
Awesome. And today I'm very pleased to have you, Kelly, on my platform. And it's such a privilege to sit with you and have you around. So our guests are very keen to hear what you have for us today. Don't cut the episode short. Stick right through the end. Yeah. So today we are talking about how to support the body through cancer treatment. Very interesting topic. And I believe a lot of people need to hear this, because cancer has caused a lot of problems in our society, but only if we knew how to deal with it, and yeah. So I'm not going to say much. I'm not a doctor. Kelly is an expert. And yeah, Kelly, thank you so much once again for being on the platform. And I'm very keen to hear what you have for us. So first thing first, many people don't even know what is cancer. So I'd like you to, before you even do that, but I want to give you an opportunity to kind of tell us more about yourself, what you do, and who you are, because I believe, you know, the best introduction can only come from you. So, yeah.
I understand that. Yes. So I am one, currently I am the mother of 3 grown sons who have families of their own. I'm the grandmother of 8, soon to be 9. I am not doing now what I was originally trained for. And I think that's very common around the world these days. What you go to college to train for, later in life, something else catches your passion. Yeah. And redirects you. My training originally was in accounting, kind of boring stuff now. I don't find that very exciting anymore. But in raising my sons, I realized one time that one of them, probably had he been in a classroom setting, he would have been identified as having ADHD, or hyperactivity disorder. And it's very common. Of course, children tend to be very active and very busy anyways, but his was more so where he had difficulty focusing, difficulty calming down and focusing on the schoolwork that he was doing. But I wasn't even recognizing that this was likely the case. I really wasn't quick to want to go to the doctor and have him put on medications. I wanted to know if there were other ways to approach it. And I found a book in the library, because this was decades ago before the internet arrived to help us research things. I found a book by Dr. Benjamin Feingold, who was a pediatric allergist. He worked with allergies in children, and he had, over working with many, many, many children, had realized that many who were on medications for hyperactivity, when they removed artificial colors and flavors from their food, they were able to come off those hyperactive medications. They were no longer having the hyperactive episodes. And it made sense to me. It made a lot more sense that something we were consuming on a regular basis was causing the problem, rather than suddenly he needs this medicine because his body lacks the medicine to help control him. So we started a protocol for 2 weeks of completely eliminating all artificial colors and flavors. And I don't know what it's like in your audience's area, but in the US, there is a lot of artificial color and flavor in our foods. And so it took quite a bit to pull that out and make sure we were not eating those. But in 2 weeks' time, his behavior was drastically different. It was amazing. He was calm. He could sit, he could focus on his schoolwork, he could have a conversation without twitching and fidgeting, and I was amazed. All we had done was change our food. And this was the action, the reaction of his body was calming him down. And so we continued the protocol. We continued to eat that way as a family, just because we recognized it made a difference for him. But as an 8-year-old boy, he could go down the street to visit a friend and might have a snack, and maybe it had artificial colors in it. He was not really paying attention and policing what he was eating. But as soon as he walked in the door, when he came home, I could tell the difference. It reacted that quickly in his body. And it just made me really curious about, all we did was change our food. What else can food do for the body? And I was homeschooling the boys. And so I continued that through graduating them from high school. But I started researching and studying and exploring and wanting to learn more and more about the power of food. Once the boys had graduated and the last one was off to his next thing, I went back to school for me and trained as a health coach, but then trained later in functional medicine, which looks for the root cause of what's wrong. Often medical treatment looks to just give a medication to respond to a symptom and quiet that down. But the symptoms are your body's messages to say, hey, I need some help. Things aren't working right. Your body can't, type a message into your brain clearly. This is what's going wrong. So we have to read the messages of our symptoms. But when you really learn to read those messages and see what's missing, you can provide through the right food what the body is needing. Because personally, I don't think our disease is our body's lack of a medication. I think our disease is the body's lack of those building block nutrients or proper care of the body in general. So we have a lot more power than we often recognize in our ability to choose different food, to calm down and relax and give ourselves the opportunity to really sleep and recover, to move daily, because our bodies are designed to move. And just sitting long-term at a desk or at whatever your tasks may be, spending a lot of time sitting is working against the body. So there's a variety of things you need to do to support wellness in your body. And that's what I really have developed a passion in helping people find, is they have to make the changes, but I can provide the guidance for making those changes to support better function in their body. What
Yeah.
shifted me to looking at cancer and the topic that we're talking about today is an email that I received from a friend a couple of years ago that was she had started the process of breast cancer treatment. And she emailed me and said, Kelly, I have a binder almost 2 inches thick with all the details of my treatment protocol. And all it says for nutrition is to drink Ensure and Carnation Instant Breakfast. And I've known you long enough to know that's not enough. There's more, and I need you on my team. For those that are not in the US, Ensure is and Carnation Instant Breakfast are liquid drinks that are purported to be nutritious, but it's synthetic nutrients and a lot of sugar and a lot of processed preservatives and ingredients. So it really isn't food.
Mm,
It's a sugar drink, which a cancer patient really shouldn't be drinking
mm,
because cancer prioritizes eating glucose for its energy.
mm.
So you don't want to eat a lot of sugar when you're in cancer treatment, when you've been diagnosed with cancer, because you're feeding what you're trying to kill. It's not
Yeah.
beneficial that way. So this particular friend, I did coach her and help her choose better diet choices, ways to support her body to rest and to recover. But she also made it a point of going outside to walk every day. Often she was walking 2 to 3 miles a day, um, and just changing things to support her body. And it doesn't mean that she didn't have some rough days. There's some hard days through cancer treatment, but she bounced back. She was able to bounce back better. And the book came about because I thought, wow, how many people don't know someone like me that can help them? They need to be able to get this information out further. So I was hoping that the book would be the process to do that. And the whole idea of my book is the medical team focuses on the cancer in whatever treatment you have chosen, but they don't tell you what to do to support the rest of you in the process.
Yes.
And the whole body gets the treatment. The whole body is exposed to treatment, chemotherapy, et cetera, that is designed to kill the cancer, but it damages regular cells too. And so you need to make sure you're nourishing the whole body and working on what's going on in the head to support your ability to come through the treatment well.
Had a conversation with one of my friends as well, which was also about, cancer and all that stuff. But the part that you said about food, people take that
Mm-hmm.
very lightly because cancer is not gonna, get you out of nowhere. It is
True.
caused by something or some ways of living, So if you change that part of your life, then if you
Yes.
are fortunate enough, you won't get cancer. But if you have cancer already, then you have to deal with it, in a very proper way. So as myself, I've been a vegetarian for over 5 years now, and
Mm-hmm.
I've received a lot of attacks from friends and family, like, what are you doing? You're gonna starve. You will, I had many, many, different opinion from different people, but
Mm-hmm.
I hold my decision. I'm like, I know what I'm doing, and this is for my health. So if you guys don't want to live my lifestyle, then it's okay with you guys. You can do whatever you want. But if anything happens, we will know who's gonna stand. So yeah, yeah, I just leave it there. So the food is very important. Lifestyle and food is very important. Most people take that lightly. You know, eating healthy, doing healthy thing, doing sport. You don't have to do heavy weight sport. Just, keep
No.
your body, in that flow. So yeah, that was very interesting because where I am in Africa, because we have a lot of different people, culture, and it's almost very hard to live a life that's gonna help you focus on the lifestyle that you choose. So
Mm-hmm.
because we are Africa is a beautiful place. We are loving people. We love to. There's a concept of Ubuntu. Ubuntu simply means I'm here because of you. I'm who I am because of you. So we love that idea of interacting with each other, sharing what others have. So if you go out of that mentality, it seems almost like you are rejecting a certain, lifestyle from other people. So for myself, when I go to or I'm invited by a friend or something like that, I stick to my diet. If there's things that I don't eat, and that might seems like, in a way of African way of living, it's kind of disrespectful if you go to your friend or you get invited somewhere, you don't get to share or partake to whatever that is there, then it doesn't seem proper. So yeah, and it's kind of difficult for some people, and I know. So the only way you can prevent or stay healthy and do better for yourself is to you know do better. That's the only way.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You've got to recognize what your body needs
yeah,
and acknowledge the friend who invited you and provided a meal, even if it's some things that you're not open to eating, but value them as a guest, value them as a friend, but perhaps recommend, help them, find a way to help them understand that you appreciate them, but you also value what you know works best for your body,
yeah,
and that you're not rejecting them in that way. But I that's something that I have to work with all of my clients. I live near New Orleans, Louisiana, which
mm,
is very food culture based. And it's not healthy food. It
yeah,
tastes delicious, but it's not healthy food. And so often I may work with a client who they've grown up eating this food, they've grown up eating this way, and they're challenged when their body is showing signs that it doesn't do well that way. So I have to kind of help them find ways to substitute, to put something else in its place, or
mm,
to prioritize this and allow just a little bit of that
yeah,
so that it's not working too much against them. And it's a give and take, but once you have found the way to eat that resonates with your body, it's something that you really don't want to give up. You
yeah,
don't want to mess it up, because once you feel that vibrancy and that energy, because you've found the right kind of food for your body, it's something you will protect and you'll be cautious. You just have to be mindful of the way it makes other people feel.
yeah,
And
sure,
I understand that so thoroughly.
yeah,
Some cultures, food is a way of loving people,
yeah,
right? I don't know if that's South African, and the Italian culture from Italy is very much, oh, have you eaten lately? Do you need more food? Can I provide something for you? And the person that wants to give that way is desiring to love through the food that they make an effort to prepare, but it's not always the best foods.
mm,
It may be comfortable food, it may be delicious and all, but you have to recognize, is this food that's going to serve my body, or is this going to work against me ultimately? And maybe you take a very small portion and you rave about it and tell them how much you appreciate them, and then you pull back from the amounts that you're eating.
mm,
I'd mentioned earlier that sugar feeds cancer cells in a prioritizing way. Cancer cells are damaged cells. They originated in us, but they're
yeah,
damaged in their metabolism, so that don't they create energy in a different way, and they prioritize glucose or sugar as their source.
mm,
So often when people are not feeling well, they want what we refer to in the US as comfort food, things that make them just feel warm and cozy.
mm,
And often that is sugary and a lot of sweets and things involved, or flour based foods that turn into sugar very quickly in your body. That's another thing. It may not be sugary sweet when you eat it, but it can process into sugar very quickly in your body. And so those are things that you really need to work on pulling away from and minimizing when you are in the process in a cancer journey. And I highly recommend a lot of fruits and vegetables. Fruit does have sugar, but it's a different sort of sugar. And it's not, if you eat it whole instead of juicing the fruit, fruit juice is like a sugar infusion right into your body. But eating the fruit with the fiber that's in the whole fruit slows the process of getting the sugar into your system. And the colors of our fruits and vegetables represent the nutrients that are in them.
Mm.
So I tell my clients, eat the colors of the rainbow. All those different colors that you see in fruits and vegetables represent different types of nutrients that your body needs. And so if you try to bring variety in, select different things, when you see a fruit salad that's all the different colors, it's enticing. It's almost exciting. And especially as a vegetarian, you particularly appreciate the colors of fruits and vegetables, I'm sure. But trying to get those natural nutrients into your body as close to the original way they grew as possible, not canned, not processed, not changed in a lot of ways, other than probably cooking them so that they're a little bit easier to eat. But that's vital. And then protein is very, very important for life. You know, even for you as a vegetarian, you have to be very purposeful
Yeah.
about what you eat to provide protein to your body. It's not as easy as I might eat a piece of meat, and that's going to be a good chunk of protein for me. But with
Mm.
legumes, with knowing what vegetables provide protein and such, you can balance it out. You just have to be mindful of the process. But for a cancer patient, a protein supply is very important. And I recommend protein with each meal,
Mm.
so that they're always supporting their body with what it needs to rebuild tissue.
All right. So yeah, so how can we then prevent cancer and still maintain our diet? Is there a way to do that?
There are a few ways that you can begin to incorporate foods into your diet that help shut off the supply lines for the cancer tumor. We have cancer growing in our body all the time. They're basically rogue cells that shift and morph. And if the immune system doesn't catch them and take them out, then they can grow and develop. But one of the key things is as a tumor develops, it has to grow new blood vessels to support its growth, to get the nutrients from the body. And consuming half a cup of mushrooms each day will reduce the body, it limits what they call angiogenesis, which is growth of new blood vessels to support tissue. And so mushrooms have a component in them that limits that angiogenesis and can cut off that supply line for you. Now, some people like mushrooms and some people don't like mushrooms.
Yeah.
That's one choice. That's one choice. And they can be eaten in a variety of ways to incorporate some simple things in your life. I would recommend doing green tea from actual leaves and brewing it for 5 to 10 minutes and then drinking that once or twice a day. That's a great way, especially if you're in a tea drinking country, that's more readily available. But green tea is different than black tea because black tea is processed further and oxidized in its processing. And so it does not have the EGCG. The important thing is green tea has the EGCG that you want to have in your body as you drink the tea.
There's something called epigenetics. I don't know if you're familiar
Yes.
with it. So you might have, inherit cancer from your parents or great, parents and things like that, which can be very sensitive for some people. And I always encourage everybody, regardless of where you are, who you are, to always keep your lifestyle very balanced. you know,
Hmm.
'cause some people don't, are not interested in doing their DNA test or finding, tracing their their genetics. So
Hmm.
just fall in the wrong side and just live your life the way you want, and then boom, you catch cancer. So, um, yeah.
Interestingly, genetics came from the study of bees because they were noticing that when bee larva is developed, it's all the same. And the scientists were exploring what makes the difference between a worker bee, a drone, and a queen bee. And what changes a larva to a queen bee is what they feed that larva.
Mm,
It's all in their food and how they treat that larva. And so we can take that also. Yes, we have genetic things that pass down from parent to the child and further on. But the important thing to recognize with genetics is it's not a guaranteed issue because I I I describe it as a library of books. You have a library of genes in your body. And much like the books in a library, the only ones that are influencing people and making them think differently because they're reading them are the ones that are in circulation because they are taken out of the library and read and consumed and discussed with people. Likewise, with your genes, you have a big library of genes. The ones that are affecting your body are the ones that are turned on,
mm,
but you have the power of turning off genes. And that is done by the lifestyle and the food that you incorporate into your life. So we all have different cultural histories and cultural connections and practices, but it's important to maintain drinking water, sleeping, resting, moving, and eating a variety of foods. Like I said, the colors of the rainbow, a variety of different foods as much as you can, so
yeah,
that you are not stuck in just one. If you're only eating one type of food all day long, it's not going to nourish your body. You're not going to get the variety of nutrients that you need. And your genetics may be expressing differently in
mm,
the terms that they use. So even when I've had clients that come to me and say, all the women in my family have gotten breast cancer, that can be really frightening and
yeah,
concerning to someone. But I start off by assuring them, wait a minute, that doesn't mean you're going to have it. We can make changes to support your body to better be able to fight the cancer if it's developing and to turn off the genes that are working against you. And
yeah,
it's a wider span of it's a lot of hope because people find that they've got the power to make changes and influence their health instead of just waiting till cancer happens because it's happened in their family and they don't think there's anything different. But we have a lot of power in our ability to influence our bodies one bite at a time as we choose the food we eat.
yeah. So true to that. And also that actually will lead to to this question that I always have in my mind as well, especially for people who are going through cancer treatment. And we can talk about the mind and other part of I mean, we can talk about the body and other parts of our lives, but also mentally, you know, uh,
Yes.
it can be another huge, contributor to our health. So
Mm-hmm.
people who are dealing with cancer now, who are in cancer treatment, you know, what would you advise them? What would you say to them, in terms of mental, how to keep themselves strong and, you know, keep going and keep receiving the treatment and also doing the necessary effect that's needed on their side because they might be broken mentally and
Mm-hmm.
for them. So, what is your advice for them?
Well, fear is a major issue for those that have cancer. It hits immediately as soon as the doctor says you have cancer. And fear shuts down your immune system. It actually hinders your immune system from functioning, and we need our immune systems to fight the cancer. So it's important not to deny the fear, but to process it and work in, even if you have to be alongside of fear for a period of time, finding the positive people in your family and in your life, your positive friends, and encouraging, spending time with them to encourage you, but also making sure that you have people around you that you can share your fears with, that won't negate them, won't deny them, won't tell you you're silly for feeling that way, because they don't know what you're experiencing. But they will encourage you and give you the positives and remind you of the hard things you've already come through in your life. And you can do this too. So you need someone to be there as your cheerleader, but not someone that won't acknowledge that you do have fear, that, someone that can support you. And sometimes I've had to encourage clients to step away from a relationship if that person just constantly brings them down, that really the way they speak, the way they respond to conversation just causes them to feel heavier. That's a conversation, that's a relationship you need to maybe step back from for a period of time, so that it's not an extra battle you have to go through when you're working through. One thing that I highly recommend for mental health is time spent out in nature.
Yeah.
I don't think we acknowledge the value of nature and our body's interaction with it. It seems so silly or simple or woo-woo in some ways, but our connection with nature is genuine. And when you can spend time outside, around the trees, around bushes, not around concrete and buildings, getting away from that setting and getting into a park or a place where you can feel the nature, maybe even have sand or grass under your bare feet, because there's an aspect, they call it grounding. And you are barefoot on the earth. It can be sand, grass, dirt, mud, although that's not something I enjoy much. But that you get negative ions up into your body, and it can help with pain control. So the benefit of being out barefoot on the earth is it's documented in a lot of science studies, and that can really help what's going on in the mind as well. It may be that they need to start a practice of journaling, unloading their thoughts onto paper to process them and get them out, instead of holding them up and tying yourself up with this stuff going on and on and on in your head. It's going to work against you.
What are the ways on your side? What are the ways to minimize, or to improve our natural lifestyle?
I think it's just making an effort to get outside in nature more often. You talked about having plants in your house and wanting to bring that in. So that is a good way to do it as well. But just you can combine spending time in nature with movement by going and taking a walk, or if you're up to it, a run, just going and doing things outside. Maybe you like to do yoga, do your yoga outside, and let that be that way you're getting double benefit from the activity. I do just feel strongly that it's important to get outside a couple times a day if you can, and breathe. That's the other big one. We tend to breathe very shallow and focus. We're not paying attention, not focusing on breathing. And when you start to breathe very deeply all the way down into your belly, if you do that too often and you're not accustomed to it, you can kind of feel lightheaded.
Yeah.
But that's just a sign that you need to be doing it more. And
Yeah.
so I often recommend to my clients breathing is an excellent way of reducing your stress levels. So breathing, taking a time for a breathing break every hour, 2 minutes every hour, just stop and close your eyes and relax and take deep breath in and hold it for a few counts and then let it go out again. And then you can do it again. There's different breathing patterns you can use
Yeah.
to calm your body and relax you. But too often we just get in a go, 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 go pattern of life. And it keeps our body in fight or flight nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, which doesn't allow for healing.
Mm.
So cancer patients especially need to make sure they're putting their bodies in parasympathetic mode, which allows for resting and digesting and healing.
Yeah. Super.
That's a key. Even the concept of eating food and digesting has to be done in the parasympathetic mode, because if you're in the fight or flight mode, your body is looking for where do you have to run from? What's the next battle you have? And it automatically sets your system to shut down reproduction and digestion in favor of functioning lungs and heart and muscles and eyes for the battle.
Mm.
So you need to purposely stop and take some breaths and calm your body down just to eat and make sure it's going to be well digested. If you're eating on the run on your way to the next big thing, your body's not really using digestive enzymes and bile and all the things that it uses to break your food down, because it's not been excreted when you're in fight or flight mode.
Mm. That is very interesting. Even myself, I never thought of it that way actually. And I'm also kind of you know, I'm really not stable. I'm like I'm always on the go. So sometimes
Mm,
I don't like the idea of eating on the go. So I always like to, you know, reserve that time when I'm done with everything,
good.
which never even happens so quickly. And I get to starve sometimes, but then I always serve, uh, prioritize, finish up everything else before I can eat. But then also, it comes to a point where it gets very late, and our body, I don't know, you are very, you might have a different understanding on that. What are your advice in terms of uh times and hours and uh proper times of eating? I know we have breakfast, lunch, and supper, but then is is there another different way which can really helps improve our health?
There can be. There can be. I know there are some doctors who are promoting intermittent fasting, where you delay breakfast until late in the morning, and then basically you're eating two large meals and a snack in an 8 hour window, or sometimes they squeeze it down to 6 hour window, um, so that you would be eating in a smaller window of time and having more time where you're just consuming water and allowing your body to process. I think that can be beneficial for cancer patients
Yeah.
in certain settings. When they are in the process of chemo, they may need more protein and food at a more regular basis to be able to help their body come through that. So it can vary depending on your treatment cycle. There are some who promote different fasting windows based on a woman's cycle in her menses cycle, and saying that in certain times, based on where her hormones would be in balance, you should be eating this time or not this time, and eating different types of food even at different times in your cycle. But
Mm.
that can be so individualized. It's hard to give it out as general information at this point. Dr. Mindy Pelz, Mindypelz, has a lot of YouTube videos about intermittent fasting for women and their cycles. So that's something that, your audience can look into and see.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to find what fits your body and works with you. I used to think breakfast was so important to break the fast, to get you fueled for the rest of the day.
Mm.
But I found out that was kind of promoted by companies that did a lot of breakfast foods.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it wasn't exactly scientific. So I don't push that. I have clients that say, I'm just not really ready to eat until late morning. That's okay. If you're going to eat a smaller window of time, the key is if you're going to eat in that smaller window of time, you need to make sure you're getting nourishment. You're choosing good food, not junk food, to fill that window of time because you want to be sure that you've put everything on board for your body to process and use to be nourished and fueled for the day.
This is one of the biggest thing as well. We think, everybody out there loves us, but most of the food companies, they have their own interest. They want to sell, they
Mm-hmm.
want to make money, so they will sell you anything and advise you to do anything that would be in their own interest. So
Right.
you really have to be mindful about that. And the most importantly, let's keep on learning and finding information that's gonna be helpful to our health. you know we cannot just
Mm-hmm.
listening to anybody, but also, I mean, of course you can listen, like right now what we're doing right now. You can listen to us and take what is important for you, but until you do some research on your own, then you're going to
Mm-hmm.
find exactly what you want and what your body needs. So it is very important, as I always encourage people, like when we are in such session, take note, write down whatever important point that you feel like, is important to you, and also do some research because it's very important. It helps you to strengthen your knowledge and also keep yourself informed. As we're coming to an end, and Kelly has a program that she would like to offer, and I think if you're comfortable sharing that, Kelly, it's gonna be super awesome, and I believe that there are people out there who will be interested and keen to join and be part of the program. You know.
All right. Well, I offer coaching for cancer patients. I coach others also that have different issues in diet and different diagnoses, but I have a particular heart for coaching cancer patients to give them a guide for the rest of their body, help them come through. And if you are curious about that, you can go to my website at pursuewellnessforyou.com. I think we'll have that in the session notes, so that they can go and schedule a time to talk with me
Yeah.
about your situation and talk about how I can support you. But also for those that may be listening who know someone who has cancer and is in cancer treatment or has it themselves, I'm offering a chemo toolbox handout that it's just a couple pages that offers some guidelines for how you can support your body through chemo. When, not everyone is constantly in chemo. Sometimes you have it for a few days and then you have a break between sessions. But in the time that you are taking chemo, it's important to support the rest of your body as you go. And that's what my handout covers for you. So the link for that will be in the show notes also.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Kelly, for sharing such powerful information. And you don't hear this at school. School don't teach you this. So it is a privilege to hear this, and just a beautiful thing um, to have such people like you, to share this kind of information. Please do subscribe. And also, if you're interested in Kelly's program, I encourage you to do so. Don't hesitate. It is about your health. Health is your wealth, so get in touch with her, and take it from there. And with that being said, please don't forget to rate the podcast if you're listening from our audio directories. And I'm almost everywhere in every platform on YouTube and audio platform. Feel free to do that. And of course, this is not the last time you might see Kelly on the platform. She might come back again with some good tips and information. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And we shall see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much.